Hello, and welcome to the unpacking of the psychoanalytical critical lens. This is a really interesting critical lens. It's based in the true psychological theory of psychoanalysis, pioneered by Sigmund Freud. And though it might not be as commonly accepted these days in psychology, I still think it's really interesting to see how it applies to literature and our understanding of characters. The first part, the concepts, the most common and uh, I guess the most notable part of psychoanalysis is the idea of the psyche, which is essentially the mind or the personality, which is divided into three separate, essentially sub personalities. You have the ego. The ego is your conscious mind. It's the um, stream of consciousness that you hear. It's the things that you are actively thinking and the things that you are choosing to do. The id, to go backwards one step, is the animalistic urges within you. These urges usually are about maintaining your life, for example, food, shelter, protection, those sorts of things. The the ego is about the um, I guess entertainment and what you're choosing to do, what you want to do. This one has a lot of control over what you need to do. The superego is the final aspect of the psyche, which is the moral mind. This is the really highly developed, the really big picture part of your mind, which controls why you would do certain actions and restricts um, or enables you to do certain things according to a really conceptual moral mind. And that links us to our next concept, which is the unconscious mind. You only have one conscious part of your psyche, and that is your ego. That's the things that you're choosing to do. Both the id and the superego are unconscious parts of your mind, and you can't access them through regular means. You can't interact with them through regular means. One of the means that you can interact with these is through dreaming, and that allows the superego or the ego to manifest um, their perspectives or their opinions, however you're going to think about the psyche, allows them to manifest in a more real way. The unconscious mind, I'll also note, is not the subconscious mind. It's not a hierarchical thing. This isn't the least important and most important. These are simply parts of your psyche that are not your active stream of consciousness thoughts. And the final concept here is the Oedipus complex. This comes to back to um, one of Freud's psychological theories that much of what a person develops into as an adult relies on what they did as a child and the experiences they had as a child. The Oedipus complex is the idea that especially a male, or almost exclusively a male, will have a experience as a child. They will have a father. They will have a mother, and they will emotionally cling more to the mother, and they will feel that they are in conflict with the father to get the mother's attention. This will remain unresolved as they grow up, uh, and they will attempt to combat their father or father figure in order to attain the attention or something else of the mother. Uh, this also relates to the concept of the people that you choose to be around when you're an adult. So you will choose to either be with people who are like your parents, or if you uh, or to the contrary, people who are the exact opposite of your parents. A lot of psychoanalysis is based on what happened in the childhood, in the person's childhood. Now to language. Uh, the first term here is dream. I have this as a linguistic term because these are really common in texts, slightly less common to flesh out in real life. But any sort of dream sequence can be analyzed alongside these parts of the psyche. Unresolved is another term I think I used when I was explaining these concepts. It's about the idea that the mind still has something that it wants to do, something that it hasn't achieved, and it feels like it needs to continue to fight for that thing. And that fight is often misplaced in contexts where it doesn't belong. Anxiety links to this issue of unresolved. It's the internal feeling of this thing is not resolved. I don't know. The person might not even be uh, conscious of this need to resolve an issue. So the anxiety comes from feeling an unresolved issue is there. And the last one I would say is a Freudian slip. Usually it's a humorous thing to notice. It's the idea that when someone misspeaks, it isn't a random effect of just a lot of things happening in their mind. It is an effect of certain things happening in their mind. And what they are truly thinking is accidentally articulated out. You might even say it's a surfacing of one of these other unconscious elements of the psyche. The seminal contributors to psychoanalysis are Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and Jacques Lacan, all classical um, psychologists, all were practicing psychologists at some point, but they all have different theories about um, for example, the psyche. So Sigmund Freud is the one who popularized the id, ego, and superego. And if you want to go into much more detail, the rabbit hole goes very far. So uh, if you are a person who gets sidetracked and lost in the detail, this will either be a very good, or a very bad critical lens for you to sink your teeth into. So tread with caution. And the last part of this is a sample thesis. Here I wrote psychoanalytical theory reveals psyche tension as the cause of incongruous public/private actions in Julius Caesar. Again, I'm relating this to the concepts and the language that we just spoke about. The psyche tension is people consciously thinking one thing, but unconsciously thinking something else, which might even be an opposite. And that would create this tension. So when they're in their private, comfortable, calm space, they might be able to articulate more of these unconscious thoughts. Whereas when they're in a public space, they might be limited to either their conscious mind or perhaps even a different aspect of their unconscious mind. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there. Um, Lots to look into for this critical lens, but I think if you keep it to these concepts and these terms, you will be able to produce some really interesting analysis of text and be able to inspect characters and their characterization on a much deeper level. Okay, thanks. See you later.